If you missed the Division 2 live stream earlier, what they called a casual stream, then you missed a hell of a lot. I aim to recap everything that was in that live stream in this recap video, but also they've just dropped the patch notes for tomorrow's PTS. I know a lot of people are interested in that as well. It's like 30 to 40 pages, so much to go through. We won't be reading it word by word, but we will be covering all of the important bits in this video. So let's start with the recap. As soon as they went live today, they got straight in. They had like a gameplay screen behind them. It was completely different to how they usually do this when they're in like an office or a room or something on a table. You knew they meant business right away. And the first thing that they wanted to go into was to show you the current PTS build, which we're going to be playing tomorrow. Can't wait to play this. And they wanted to speak about the seasonal journey. So I'm going to have to freeze frame this as we go. But when you log in to the new season in seasons 2.0, it's been entirely revamped. You can see here we have journey and primary objectives. The next tab, which we didn't see, is the normal tab that we have for the events timeline, which as it stands, we have like the manhunt, we have the leagues, we have the global events. So there's still going to be an events timeline, but it didn't want to show us this today, and it's not going to be on the PTS either. So maybe more secrets and surprises to be had when this actually lands. Who knows? We will be speaking about this as we go on though. But the journey and the priority objectives they did go over. So when you start a season now, in season 2, season 3 and beyond, every new season, you'll have a journey. You'll start at mission 1 and this will go all the way through to mission 7 and maybe beyond. Right now we've got 7 missions here. And how this works is, I think up to level 10 on the game, you'll have access to mission 1, and then level 20, mission 2, and I think it goes up to mission 4 being level 40, and all the missions after that will be available to all level 40 players. And for completing each of these missions, you're going to get rewards, like you can see here: receiver components, protective fabric, steel, ceramics, polycarbonate, a different form of XP, and there's some shade supplies. But the rewards do get better. We won't go through them, but let's have a look at this mission 1. You can see 6 of these are required to complete mission 1. You got things like eliminate hostiles with a primary weapon, complete the Grand Washington Hotel mission, loot pieces of gear, use the pulse skill, buy an item from the theater settlement vendor, complete propaganda broadcast, complete the Air and Space Museum, broadcasts, complete the Air and Space Museum mission, and liberate a control point. And you got to do a certain amount of each of them. Once you've done all of those, once you've done 6 of those, you can leave some if you want to. If there's some that you don't like, you'll complete mission 1 and you'll move on to mission 2. This carries on like this way all the way through the missions, and you can do this right away. You don't need to wait for these to unlock. They're not time gated or anything like that. You can start up a new season and get all of these missions complete right away. And when you get up to mission 4, which are the level 40 missions, you start to unlock better rewards here. You can see the rewards get better every time. We've got 5 exotic components now, even more of that new XP, which is, we'll explain that now. That is going to be your season track XP. This is how you're going to progress on your season track. You're going to have to complete these to progress. We've also got an Isaac mod unlock, and we're going to be going over this in a few moments, because this is the new mod system, the season mod system that comes in season 2 of year 6, and it is a game changer. But before we do speak about that, we do want to speak about priority objectives. It doesn't stop the seasonal journey, because after that, once you finish your seasonal journey and you've done all of those tasks, you have priority objectives, and these refresh all the time. They'll give you 3 to start off with like this. As you complete them, you will earn rerolls, so you can reroll if you don't like what's available, and you can do these all the time, and there'll be rewards for them. You can see here, we've got 3 available. We've got a stronghold we could do in Washington, D.C., a mission in Washington, D.C., or an open world objective in Washington, D.C. These objectives can be from anywhere. They can be from Washington, D.C. They could be from the New York map if you own the expansion. And they said when Brooklyn is released, they can be from Brooklyn as well. And it gives you a little bit of information. It tells you the duration of it. You can see it's long or medium. There might be some short ones. And you'll see the reward. We've got an XP reward here. We've got a modifier reward. And we've got E-credits. There'll be loads of different rewards that you can get from these as well. You'll have to choose one and decrypt it. And once you decrypt it, you get the whole deal. So we can see Yannick chose the mission one. It's a mission in Washington, D.C. And you got to complete the Lincoln Memorial main mission on any difficulty. You've just got to do it the one time. It's medium duration. And your reward is going to be the drawback mod. Again, we are going to get into that mod system. So there's going to be more mods that can be unlocked through priority objectives as well as the journey. So at the start of every season now, where it used to be let's just grind out as much XP as we can to get our reward track done, you're now going to be going in, completing your journey and then working on priority objectives because your main concern is going to be unlocking all of these modifications. And then there's obviously still the season track as well, which we will speak a little bit about as we go through this video, but we don't have a ton of information how that's going to look. It has had some changes though. So what are seasonal modifiers? If you head into your build menu where your watch is, you're going to now have that Isaac modifier. This is like your seasonal artifact if you're playing Destiny. It's now your seasonal modifier in the Division 2, and you'll have a global modifier every season. So I just want to pause this here. Your global modifier will be specific to the season, and you'll get that off the bat by the looks of it. So you can see this season, in season 2, which goes live next, whenever that is, we get point blank. And the global modifier here, there are going to be 3 ranges with variable distances, short, medium, and long range. Depending on the distance to the target, weapon damage is amplified by a fixed percentage. You got short range, medium range, and a long range amplification. And it says no bonus is applied past the distance threshold. And that's going to be your modifier for the whole season. And the season lasts a while. And you'll have this. The best thing about it as well, if you don't like it, if there's one season where they put a modifier on that you really hate or you dislike, this can be deactivated at any time. You can have it active or you can have it deactive, which means nothing changes. I really like that implementation. But that's not it. There's more to it. You can see here we have the global modifier, we have an active modifier, passive modifiers, and hostile modifiers. So let's have a look at what they mean. There are 3 active modifiers in Season 2 by the looks of it, unless there's more that they didn't show. And you can see that you've got to complete priority objectives or seasonal journey missions to unlock these active modifiers. Hence why I said at the start there, this is going to be a primary objective now when you start a new season. And this is what they look like. So you can put any of these on. And they describe these as ults when they're talking about it, by the way. These are like ults that you can use while you're playing. And we have the all-out one. So with this, when you activate it as an ult, you're going to have 10 seconds to eliminate an enemy in any range zone. The zone that enemy was killed in will now count for the full range spectrum, but this effect will slowly decrease. For each 5% it decreases, you receive 5% increased weapon damage. Eliminating additional enemies restores 2.5% of the effect. So you have that ult that you can use, then there's prime time and there's reversal. So let's have a look at the other ones. On prime time, it says on trigger, all equipped minor modifiers become effective only within medium range for 15 seconds. Every critical hit within range adds 0.5 seconds of the duration of this effect. And then there's reversal. You can swap the damage bonuses and equip passive modifiers between short and long ranges for a limited time, increasing each zone's amplified damage bonus by 25%. The total duration can be extended for each headshot within the 2 distances up to a maximum of 100% of its initial duration. And you'll be able to have one of these ults equipped. You can change it whenever you want. You can come into this menu, you'll be able to go in and change it if you want to change things up. And then you also have passive modifiers as well. You can see here, you've got to complete priority objectives to unlock these. I'm not sure if some of these will be on the journey as well. Maybe they will be. But again, it's going back to the fact that the seasonal journey will be a priority every season, and these priority objectives you're going to want to play quite extensively to get all of these unlocked. So you've got everything at your full arsenal, you know, and you can choose between what you want. You have short range, medium range, long range, and multi-zone passive modifiers here. And once you've got them all unlocked, they all do different things. I'm not going to go through every single one of these. We'll have a look at the PTS tomorrow and hopefully unlock them all. But this one we're on here, short range drawback. This is the one that Yannick's just unlocked with the priority mission he accepted. He'll go and do this now, and he'll unlock this. It's a passive modifier. Effective range, short range. Weapon handling, 0.35 is increased by 50% of headshot damage while that enemy is within short range. So every season, you are going to start with this Isaac mod system. You are going to have a global modifier. You'll want to unlock all of your active modifiers. You'll want to unlock all of your passive modifiers. You're then going to want to see what combinations you like best and see what combinations work with the build you have. Or maybe even you'll create builds around these modifications. I'm so hyped and excited about this. This game has needed something like this for so long. And I think it's absolutely brilliant. And they truly are delivering on that. Every season's gonna feel different, because who knows what's gonna come the season after. This is just season 2. Season 3, once season 2 is finished, is gonna be completely different. A new global modifier, new active modifiers, new passive modifiers, and a different experience. But that's not all. You may have noticed also hostile modifiers. Now, there was a bug and it never brought up the descriptions for these, but every season as well, there's going to be hostile modifiers. All of these agent modifiers are to make you more powerful and to add a different element to your game and playstyle potentially, but the hostile modifiers are to work against you. It's like giving the hostiles talents. They're going to be having an increase in difficulty in that way, and it is going to change the way that you take on missions. So I don't know what all 4 of these are, but I did notice 2 when Yannick was playing his mission. He mentioned that one of these basically gave the enemy more defense at short range. So if you were at short range to them, then you wouldn't do as much damage. They would be a lot more tankier, so you'd have to take them out at medium or long range. That was one of them. And another one was where you took like deflective damage. If you shot at the enemy within a certain distance, whether that was short, medium, or range, I'm going to say short. So if you shot the enemy within short range, you would take that ammo, you would take that damage. So these modifiers are really going to come into play, and you're going to have to think about builds maybe that you want to use because of them, or strategies to get around them. So let's just go on to the mission. Yannick did select that priority objective at Lincoln Memorial, and he went to play it to show it how it worked. And this isn't finalized yet, but you can kind of see the modifiers above the enemy head as to what they have. So if they have that black icon above their head, then they've got one of the hostile modifiers on them, and that symbol will show you what modifier that is. You'll kind of figure that out as you go and what the symbols mean and who's got what or whatnot. But also you'll notice when you're aiming for this modifier, you'll see that you've got that yellow, red, and blue on your crosshair there. So it tells you where you are. Blue being short range, yellow being medium range, and red being long range. So it is showing you this as you play, so you kind of know where you're at while you're playing with the modifiers. Honestly, this excites me a ton. And one thing I do want to put in here, and I'm not looking to start the whole seasonal character debate or anything like that again, but you can kind of see where they were going with this. Imagine having to start a new character, having that fast progression to level 40, but then doing all this that they're showing you now with fresh gear, you know, a fresh character. I kind of get what they're aiming for. In their live stream earlier, people were mentioning how quick it's going to be to get through a lot of like the journey and things like that, and Yannick kind of smirked because I think their idea was, yeah, you'd be doing the journey, you'd be doing his primary objectives, you'd be doing all this with a new character, and it wouldn't be so easy, and it'd be much more content to that and extent to that. However, this does ease my mind about seasonal characters. I was very worried that was going to be really important to what they wanted to do. This is still huge news. This is great news. And although I still think seasonal characters would have played so well with this, it's still great. I'm very excited. And this has completely changed the seasonal model by itself. But that isn't all. There's still more. And now we want to have a look at Manhunt Scouts. So Manhunts 2.0. So we all know how the current Manhunt screen looks. When you go to map, you go to Manhunt, you have the Manhunt in the middle, and you have all the different areas where you're going to unlock the Manhunt. That's completely changed now. You're going to have a Scout. It's got Aaron Keener there. That's a placeholder because they don't want to spoil anything. But you can see here through these Scout missions, you're again getting rewarded Season Track XP. For your Season Track normal XP, some items, and every single week, you're going to have a Scout mission. It's going to last for 14 weeks. So we'll have a look at Scout Mission 1 here. We've got some intel. With Keener in custody, it's your job to get the team back together. I was supposed to find a safe place in Foggy Bottom. You're good at solving riddles. Let's see if you can find me. glasses out. That's obviously Theo. We're going to be going to find Theo. And we've got an activity. We've got 3 activities to do for this week. And they'll unlock as you complete the preceding one. Activity 1. I miss taxis. I wonder if we'll ever get them running again. So this is a clue. And you've got to work it out. And this is great. It gives us content creators content to make for you for people that don't want to work them out. This one's quite easy though. You know where they are. They're in Foggy Bottom. What's in Foggy Bottom that evolves around taxis? Taxi Graveyard. Go and complete the Taxi Graveyard control point. That one's quite obvious. Once you've unlocked that, you'll get activity 2. Once you've unlocked that, you'll get activity 3. Once you've completed all 3 activities, you'll get a hold of the comm for that week and the rewards, and that's how it works now. You'll then have to wait to the next week to get Scout Mission 2. Once all 14 Scout missions are completed, you'll get your Climax Mission, and you do need to complete all 14 Scout missions. It doesn't matter if you arrive in the season late though, you could arrive right in the last week of the season, and you'll be able to complete all 14 of the Scout missions and the Climax Mission. It will be available until the season ends. So it's a good job that they're long seasons. And I love the way they're getting you back on the game every single week now. I imagine this will be every Tuesday. You'll log on, you'll do the Scout mission, and then you'll get the Climax mission at the very, very end. They did discuss the Climax mission. That isn't going to be in the PTS. They spoke very little about it. But they did discuss it. They said once you complete it, you get access to the Master difficulty. And the Master difficulty is going to be harder than Heroic. But they really didn't want to discuss much. There's a lot of spoilers around the Climax mission and everything. And that's probably a big piece of content they've worked hard on. And we've got to wait to find out all of that. But that is how now the manhunts are going to work with the Scouts. Now, there was so much more mentioned, and they had like a Q&A and all this. So I'm just going to play this mission now while I go through all of my notes. And then after this, we will take a look at the patch notes for the PTS. And just while we're on the PTS topic, everything I just shown you is going to be available in the PTS tomorrow. They are going to give you a couple of weeks of Scout missions to do. Every single one of the journey tasks are going to be open for you. The seasonal or the objectives, the priority objectives are going to be available to you. The mods are going to be available. So in the PTS this weekend, you're going to be able to get on, unlock all of your mods, have a look at all of that and everything. And the first note I want to start on as well, and in regards to the PTS, is that Yannick used the words that every item in the game has been rebalanced. People noticed that in this clip, he was using a St. Elmo's with only 60 rounds, not 70. So the St. Elmo's mag now is only going to be a 60 round mag. And people were complaining about that. But he said, have a look at the patch notes. Everything's going to be in there. So we will have a look in a few moments time at all of those changes. And you'll be able to test it all out on the PTS over the weekend. And he doesn't think it didn't seem to be me like he thought too much of it. And we won't be too unhappy. He just wants us to have a look at it. So we will have a look in a few moments. So we spoke about the seasonal journey, the Isaac mod unlock, the priority objectives, the modifiers. They did have a little bit of conversation about seasonal characters, and it looked like they were a little bit miffed by that. It looked like they kind of liked that idea. They're a bit good. They had to go back on it. I don't know. I'm reading body language. I could be completely wrong. But they did state that pretty much everything is included what was planned with seasonal characters. It does suggest to me that some things have been left out, but pretty much everything is here. So I like that. I was worried that they're going to have to leave a lot out because they went back on seasonal characters, because that was the core of this update. But knowing that most of the stuff is still here is good. And one of the things I know that is missing is the extra character. With seasonal characters, there was going to be an extra character. You're going to be able to have that extra slot for inventory space and things like this. So we know that's not included now. And I don't know what else we're missing because of it. But pretty much everything's included in this that was planned with seasonal characters. In terms of modifiers, a lot of questions were asked, well, where are you going to be able to use the modifiers? Well, everywhere. There's only 2 places you can't. The DZ, you're not going to be able to use modifiers, and Descent, which is obvious. Descent is all about starting fresh with nothing and working through and improving yourself. So modifiers will not be active in DC or Descent, but they will everywhere else. So legendary missions, raids, incursion. You're going to be able to get your modifiers up, and you're going to be able to use it on all this content from what they've said. And also with global events, when global events come around, you are not going to be able to have modifiers on and global events on. You'll have to choose one or the other. You cannot have both. It'll just break the game pretty much. I did mention about the season track changing a little bit as well. So now the season track is going to still be the same in the way that you'll have a free track. Well, there'll be free items and there'll be premium items, but there won't be 2 tracks no more. There will be the one singular track, and they'll have all the free and premium items on it. And it is going to be a shorter track now, but they said when you see the season track, do take into account that more rewards are going to be given now through the objectives, like the new season journey, maybe even the primary objectives. So you're going to be getting more rewards that way, and through the scouts as well. So there's different ways it can give you rewards now throughout the season, not just the season track. So just bear that in mind when you see that it is shorter. A question was asked about exotic transmogs as well, and Yannick didn't answer it. He smirked and moved on. I didn't know what to take from that, but body language and making a point about not answering and just moving on was either that he's fed up of hearing the question or exotic transmogs are coming. I don't know. Think what you will. Leagues are gone. So if you remember, well, right now how it stands with seasons, we have the season track of the activity track, and we do Manhunt, we do leagues, and we do stuff like that, and there's a power events. There's going to be no more leagues. They're done. So the last league is now active this week. This is the last league that's ever going to be on the Division 2. There's not going to be another league again. So they're gone. And I don't mind that. They're a bit pointless. They're too easy. They weren't really a challenge, to be honest with you. We've created a much better system within our community that's more competitive. So there's going to be no leagues going forward, but they did, Yannick did mention about something in the future, potentially having something evolved about what they were kind of designed for. But that's future, not now. So don't expect to see any leagues in the next season. They did have a question about new exotics and new gear as well. They didn't go over any of that today. They said it would be in the patch notes though, so we'll have a look at the patch notes in just a few more seconds' time. That'll also be in the PTS as well. And then ducks. I don't know if you've been following my channel recently, but we've done a few videos about ducks. They're asked about ducks. They laughed and they said keep shooting the ducks. Once you shoot every single one, there is something. So, I don't know. I'm going to have to relook at that clip. But they pretty much confirmed there is a secret to do with the ducks, and we got to keep on shooting them. And then finally, somebody asked about manhunts and the ability to replay the old manhunts, if we could purchase it or something like that. They said no, but they did say there's an event coming up. They're calling it the Throwback Event, where it's going to allow players to play back all seasons, or all the seasonal manhunts anyway. You're going to get 2 days per manhunt, and they're going to coincide with global events, and this will be before Seasons 2.0. So I imagine once we get to the end of this season activity track, we're going to have this event. We're going to have 2 days of every single manhunt, which will lead us up to the new season. But that's pretty cool. It's a special event that's coming, and they said more information will be shared soon. But that's everything that was on my notepad. That's everything that was discussed today. I think you can tell I'm very excited. I hope you are. Now it's time for the patch notes. And they just tweeted this 36 minutes ago. TU22 PTS preload is here. You can preload it now, and there are lots of changes to test. I'll discuss the preload at the end of the video, at the very end. But there's 3 parts to these patch notes. How big are these? This is just part 1. They're quite large. So I'm not going to read through this word by word. We're not going to do that. Patch notes, the size without PTS build on Connect is going to be 97 gigabyte. Size of PTS build already is on Connect is 18 gigabyte upload. We had quite a big upload on the Division 2 the other day. Maybe that's what this was, installing some of this stuff. So they speak about the seasonal journey that we've gone over, seasonal modifiers that we've gone over. We've already gone all over this. Priority objectives, Manhunt Scouts, new gear. So this we're interested in. Because I'm skipping loads of this, I am going to link every single one of these patch notes down in the description. You can go and read at your leisure. So new gear, we're getting, is that Legatus Spa? Legatus SPA brand set. 1 piece of crypt is going to give you 30% swap speed. 2 pieces of crypt will give you 50% optimal range. 3 pieces of crypt, 15% weapon damage. Named gear pieces, named backpack, vigil, talent, perfect, versatile. This works very well, the swap speed. Amplifies total weapon damage for 10 seconds when swapping between your primary and secondary weapons if they are different. You get 45% to enemies within 15 meters for shotguns and SMGs. For PvP, that's 35% within 15 meters. 45% to enemies further than 25 meters for rifles and marksman rifles, 35% in PvP. And 20% to enemies between 15 to 25 meters for LMGs and ARs. At most once per 5 seconds per weapon type. And then you get the named mask Visionario, perfect attribute, which is 50% optimal range. What do you think of that? I quite like it. That's probably one of the better brand sets they've released recently, thinking about it. Like, optimal range, potentially 100% optimal range, swap speed, swapping those weapons, extra weapon damage. I don't know. There's some builds to be made around that, that's for sure. Virtuoso is the gear set. 2 pieces of this equipped is going to give you 15% weapon handling, 15% magazine size. 3 pieces gives you 15% weapon damage. 4 pieces gives you a unique talent, Symphony. Killing an enemy further than 30 meters will provide 30% weapon damage to shotguns, SMGs, and pistols. 15% weapon damage to ARs, LMGs, and 25% bonus armor for 10 seconds. Killing an enemy within 30 meters will provide 30% weapon damage to marksman rifles and rifles, 15% weapon damage to ARs and LMGs, and 30% headshot damage for 10 seconds. Intermittently killing enemies from both ranges will build up stacks. At 4 stacks, all bonuses are doubled and triggered at the same time for 10 seconds. No stacks are acquired while these bonuses are active. That sounds insane. Chest and backpack talents. The chest bonus talent is Fortissimo. Double the weapon damage bonuses of Symphony. And the backpack bonus talent is Accelerando. Decrease the number of stacks needed to proc the Symphony double buffs from 4 to 3. Are they potentially trying to challenge Striker here? Maybe not, because max stack Striker is absolutely insane, but that sounds good. That's another good gear set. I'm excited to play around with that for sure. Both of them. Exotics. We're getting a new exotic holster, the Centurion Scabbard, with a talent counter. Swapping weapons will give the following groups of bonuses one by one in order. 20% rate of fire, 20% weapon damage, 50% magazine size, 50% reload speed, and then the bonuses remain active for 8 seconds or until the next weapon swap. Swapping to your sidearm will not trigger the next group of bonuses. So basically what that's saying is if I wear this holster, if I swap to my secondary and then back to my main, I'm going to get 20% rate of fire, 20% weapon damage, 50% magazine size, and 50% reload speed, and that's going to remain active for 8 seconds. We've got some new exotic weapons and talents as well. So, exotic weapon, the Striga Exotic Foul. Talent Unnerve. Killing an enemy will apply a mark on every enemy within 20 meters of it. Multiple marks can be applied on the same enemy. Deal 15% amplified damage per mark to marked enemies. Weapon mods. You get a magazine with plus 20 rounds, a muzzle with plus 5 critical hit damage, optics with plus 5 critical hit chance, and an underbarrel with 10% weapon handling. New named weapons and talents. We got the Precision Strike weapon talent. Killing enemies farther than 20 meters builds up stacks, max up to 3. Hitting an enemy within 20 meters will use all stacks to provide plus 20% amplified damage per stack to enemies within 20 meters for 5 seconds. And then the Perfect Precision Sight weapon talent. Killing enemies farther than 20 meters builds up stacks. The max is 2. And hitting an enemy within 20 meters will use all stacks and provide 35% amplified damage per stack to enemies within 20 meters for 5 seconds. And then there's been a few things reworked. Sledgehammer weapon talent. We use this a lot. Dealing damage with a grenade applies a mark on target, and targets with marks will take 30% more damage to armor from the agent that applied the mark. Wow. That's a huge nerf. So okay. Mosquito Song Exotic Pistol. Hitting an enemy applies a stack. Stacks are shared between players. At 5 stacks, the enemy will forcefully target the last player to apply a stack to 5 seconds to take 40% more damage to armor from all sources. Oh, okay. That's a huge buff. So that's actually better for some instance. Sorry, I'm redoing I'm redoing guides right now, and this changes some things around because Sledgehammer, we work a lot on our raids and stuff, and we throw the grenade, we get the extra damage, and it works so good. But now the Mosquito Song, once you hit an enemy and you share at 5 and get to 5 stacks, they're going to forcefully target you, and they're going to take 40% more damage to armor, which is basically what the Sledgehammer was doing, but more. And even though the stacks deplete, you can keep on shooting it. You can keep that 40% damage to armor active. So they've nerfed the Sledgehammer and buffed the Mosquito. I wonder if it'll stay like that. I wonder what the feedback will be. As of TU22, the following rifles and MMRs will become fully automatic. Oh, wow. Right. It's not gonna be what I thought. Then the lightweight M4 is not gonna automatically turn into an assault rifle. I'm thinking this is more of an accessibility feature where you can just hold it down and it'll keep on firing. You're not gonna have to keep on pressing it. That's what this is. I thought then we were going to have... I thought we had the lightweight M4 back of the Division 1. But no, I don't think it's going to be like that. I think it's exactly what I just said, like an accessibility feature. Some games have that. Destiny have it. So for the marksman rifles and the rifles, there's a setting in game actually where you can make rifles and marksmans fully automatic. So you can just hold it and it just does it for you so you're not constantly tapping it. I like it. It's a good quality of life adjustment. And there's some huge bombshells there. So let's move to page 2. Balancing. With the introduction of Seasons 2.0, which brings new features like Modifiers, Scouts, Priority Objectives, and Seasonal Journey, we've taken a fresh approach to balancing, aiming to give different playstyles more distinct personalities. This update will address a wide range of elements, including various weapon categories, exotic weapons, and gear, weapon mods, talents, and gear sets. So we're going to see buffs and we're going to see nerfs. The core stats section in the inventory preview of a weapon has been updated to allow showcase headshot damage and optimal range. The reload stat in the weapon handling section of the inventory preview of a weapon has been updated to showcase 2 decimals. So they've changed everything. So we're gonna have a quick look here at like the ACR. Can I make this bigger? We can. I'm going to scroll through this so you can just take a screen or whatever and you can go through this yourself. But you know red's nerfed, green's buffed, right? And that's all your assault rifles, T21, TU22. Pause and read if you want to, but I'm going to keep on moving forward. SMGs, there's your list of SMGs. So you see the level 40 damage at TU21, level 40 damage at TU22. Some sort of big changes there for a lot of that. Lots change. Even like the mag sizes for some have been decreased. And then we move on to LMGs. Again, just pause, take a screen if you want them, or just check out the link in the description if you want to read through this and digest it all. I'm just going to play and see what it feels like. Rifles has a note. It says the 1886 and any weapon based on it no longer deal reduced damage to arms and legs. Okay. Got M1A variants there, including them all. MMRs, so sniper rifles. I wonder which will be the best sniper rifle now for the determined build. That seems to change a few times over the last few months. Shotguns. Not including any exotics. These are just, I'm guessing, maybe exotics will be at the end separate or they're just not getting adjusted. Or the exotics as form of one of these, I guess, so they'll just be naturally adjusted with that. Pistols. Or sidearms. A lot of green, a lot of red on the reload speed. Pretty much slowing down the reload speed on all of them bar one. And then weapon mods. So I'll scroll through this slowly. Because you can... This is just all getting buffed at the minute, though. So these are just all buffs. If there's a red, I'll stop. But you can see why there's loads of pages. I'm going to go faster now. Because, oh, we got a red. So a small RDS scope. You're going to have a minus 20% reduction in accuracy, which is a nerf. Low reflex sight, minus 25% optimal range. Gear talents, here we go. So Entrench is having a buff. It shows the perfect. I'm not. Oh, it does say before and after. So the cooldown is now 2 seconds, whereas before it was 3. Gunslinger's getting a buff. 23% extra damage rather than 20% by the looks of it. Kinetic Momentum's getting a buff. Obliterate's getting a debuff. So critical hits increase total weapon damage by 1% for 5 seconds. Stacks up to 17 rather than 25. That makes Glass Cannon even more better. Because I was quite close to Glass Cannon at full, you know. I don't think it needed a debuff, though. Glass was still superior in my eyes, but it was debatable. Overwatch is getting a buff. So instead of 12%, it's going up to 14%. So that's good. Spark's getting a buff, going from... what's that doing? 15... I think that might just be the perfect Spark getting a buff there. I don't know. It looks the same. I don't know what I'm missing there. Safeguard's getting a buff, while a full armor increases total skill repair by 130 rather than 100. Gear attributes, the Hollow Man, 14% health damage is buffed from 10. Motherly Love looks like it's buff skill health. Firm Handshakes had a buff on status effects, 16 instead of 15. Claws Out, 500% melee damage, 11% pistol damage. It was 9. Picoro's Holster is getting debuffed from 15% weapon damage down to 10% weapon damage. Perfectly Accurate's getting a buff from 50 to 80. Allegro from 12 to 22. It's quite a good increase. Breadbasket is getting a buff. Landing body shots adds a stack bonus of 70%. Perfect, 55% non-perfect. It was 35 and 50. Eyeless is amplified weapon damage by 30% instead of 20% now. Fast Hands is going to debuff crits at a stack of 3% rather than 4% reload speed. Killer is having a buff. Killing an enemy will grant, with critical hit, grants 70% critical hit damage for 10 seconds instead of 40. It's quite a big increase. Ignited amplifies weapon damage by 25%. Instead of 20. I'm waiting for Glass Cannon. Optimist. I don't think actually they're going in. I think we're good. It's alphabetical order. We're good. Optimist. Weapon damage is increased by 3.5% for every 10 seconds ammo is missing. That was 3%. Did I do everything there? Ignited as well. 25 instead of 20. Perfectly optimized. Increased weapon handling by 40% instead of 30. Perpetuation. Headshots grant 75% status effect damage and duration to the next status effect you apply. It was 50. Ranger amplifies your damage by 2% for every 4 meters rather than 5 meters. Reformation's got a buff. Sadis has got a buff. I'm just going to finish. There's loads of buffs. Thunderstrike, Vindictive, Measured, On Empty, Outsider, Behind You's been buffed. Brazen's being buffed. Perfect Jazz Hands, Pumped Up. That's a hell of a lot of buffs. And it carries on the next link. So we're going to go through this quickly to close off the video now. It's been a long one. Been so much to talk about though. So again, buff and nerfs. Hardwired gear sets having a buff. Feedback loop can occur once every 10 seconds instead of 20. Wow. Backpack talents getting a buff. Decreases feedback loop cooldown from 10 to 5 seconds. Aegis is getting a buff. Heartbreaker is getting a buff. I'm letting you pause and read these yourself if you need to. Aces and Eights is getting a buff. I'm interested here. So flip a card when landing shots with a rifle or marksman rifle. After 5 cards are flipped, the damage of your next shot is amplified by 30%. More shots are enhanced the better the hand revealed. 4 of a kind 4 shots. Full house 3 shots. Aces at 8s 2 shots. Flip an additional card, no headshots. So what's changed there? Oh! Rifle or marksman rifle. That's what's changed there. Okay. Breaking points getting a buff. Negotiated dilemmas getting a buff. So increased crowd control damage to additional marked enemies from 60 to 112%. Oh, okay. I thought, no. It's only going from 100 to 112. It's an extra 12% there. Ongoing directive is getting a buff, so increases hollow point ammo damage amplification from 20% to 50%. That's good. It was 35. Changes won't affect PvP. That, again, just thinking back to my new strategies and creating for raids, I just finished Dark Hours. I might have to completely rewrite the book on what I've just done. Some of these changes. That's huge change there. Striker's getting a nerf. Here we go. Increases total weapon damage gained per stack of Striker's Gamble from 0.65 to 0.85. So before, you were getting 0.65 to 1. So that meant you got a whole 100% at 100 stacks, right? So now you're only getting 85%. That's not too much of a nerf, but a nerf nonetheless. Striker finally getting nerfed. Umbra Initiative is getting a buff. And then brand sets, they've included all of these screens. We can see there's going to be, you can freeze and screen these all you want if you want. There's going to be brand set changes. You can see down like Alp Summit, it was 20% repair skills. It's going down to 16.66 repair skills. There's some buffs, there's some nerfs. Exotic weapons. The Bighorn's getting a buff. The mods are getting a buff on that. St. Elmo's is having a nerf. Critical hit, so optics 15% critical hit damage, mag 30 rounds. That's going to go... well, no, that actually stays the same, but you are losing 10 rounds. There's a few things changing there. Some nerfs. Eagle Bearer's getting a buff. Chameleon's getting buffed. Lady Death's getting buffed. Backfire's buffed. Chatterbox is buffed. Ouroboros is getting a nerf on rate of fire and rounds. Iron Lung's getting buffed and nerfed at the same time. Blue Screen's getting buffed. Bullet King's getting buffed. Ruthless Merciless buffed. Vindicator buffed. Scorpio's getting nerfed. Oh, that's more shots, I think. That's where the nerf is there. It used to take 7 to get that additional damage from all sources. It's now going to take 10. So they're increasing the amount of stacks you got to apply before you get the debuffs. Exotic Gear, Catharsis is having a buff. Updated loot pool. Named weapons. In TU22, a fresh batch of named weapons will be added to the loot pool for missions and mission bosses. Here's what you need to know. The original loot tables will remain unchanged, but will now include additional opportunities to obtain the newly added items. While these items will have a higher drop rate, they are not guaranteed rewards and may still require multiple attempts to acquire. The likelihood of these weapons dropping will increase with the difficulty level of each mission. These new loot drop chances will be exclusively available for characters at level 40 or above. And importantly, these changes will not apply to invaded missions and are limited to their regular versions. Camp White Oak, you'll be able to get the Pyromaniac, Mechanical Animal, Kingbreaker, Pentagon, New Reliable, DARPA Research Labs, Lefty, Roosevelt Island, White Death. I think this is brilliant, by the way. Manning National Zoo, White Death, Coney Island, Burnout, Born Great. You can read this yourself. So basically, a lot of named items are being attached to missions with an increased drop chance for you. Known issues, enemy modifiers. So there's a few known issues with the modifiers and new stuff that's coming, which they know about. There's some other stuff. And then that's it. Well, guys, at the start of the stream today, I said it was going to be a huge update. I felt it. I thought it was going to be big. Everyone was saying that the DLC is the next time to get excited about a Division 2. And I agree. The DLC, the expansion coming is very, very big for the game. It's important and it's going to be huge. However, for me, one of the biggest points about this game was correcting how we go about playing it in between big updates. And it gets stale very, very quickly right now of how old the game is. The seasonal model weren't great. You know, there's a lot of things games do to kind of keep people playing, whether it's PvP, game modes, or like seasonal content. And Division wasn't hitting the mark in a lot of this. PvP, they're not hitting the mark. Game modes, Descent kind of does, but like they don't hit the mark compared to the Division 1, where you had Underground, you had Survival, you had Last Stand. There's a lot of things to keep you active and keep you playing the game. And the seasonal model, it was terrible. And this is what I believe that they're working on a lot on the game right now. And the seasonal structure was up there right at the top of the priority list. And I'm very excited for these changes. I think they are really big. Even the balancing changes, just to try and bring some things back more into the game. Because right now on the game, everybody just uses Striker. You know, it'd be good to see some of these adjustments, how they work, how they're going to react with all the modifiers. There's so much content coming in this update in Season 2. I hope you're excited as I am, because we want more content, we want fresh content, and that's coming with the DLC, but at the same time, we can make the current content so much better, and they've just made it a million times better. They really have. I can't wait for this. We'll be live on the PTS tomorrow. I got a 24-hour stream. I'm going live at 10 a.m. UK, going for 24 hours. As soon as the PTS is live, we'll be playing it, and we'll be covering absolutely everything. Thank you for watching this today. I hope it's been a good recap video. Hit like, subscribe if you're new. Come and check us out. Everything's in the description. I'm going to end it there. Thank you for watching. Take care and peace out.